Hey there, friends. My name is Ann Calvillo, and welcome to Her Scars Tell a Story podcast, a safe space for women from all different walks of life and different backgrounds coming together to share their stories of God's redeeming love. So grab your cup of coffee and journey with us now. Hey there, friends. Welcome to Her Scars Tell a Story podcast. I'm your host, Ann Calvillo, and today I'm with a wonderful guest. Her name is Rosie. Hi, Rosie.
Hi, Ann. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. So Rosie and I had met a few years back, right? Rosie was not a few, more than a few.
More than a few.
It's been a while, but it just so happens that we stayed connected through Facebook. We actually met through our daughters being in a pageant called Quinceañera, right?
Yeah.
Many, many years ago. We stayed connected through Facebook, and it turned out that I didn't know Rosie is also a believer, and I got to see through her Facebook her share some videos and just share her faith. So this was really nice to know and to see. Divine connections is how I have to put that, because now I see the things that you're doing for the community, Rosie, and I'm like, man, that could only be God. That could only be God. So before we get into the present, please share with us a little bit about yourself and your story.
So a little bit about myself. First of all, public speaking is not my thing, but this is for the Lord. So
Yes.
He's brought me to this. So I grew up in a broken home where I experienced a lot of trauma. And it made me, this is where the public speaking comes in.
Yeah.
I grew up with a lot of fear, my parents were in a domestic violence relationship. And since I was little, I saw that. So I always thought that love hurt. I always thought like I couldn't speak up for myself or something bad would happen to me. So I think, when you're little, you're like a sponge and you grasp all of that and you start developing this in your life. So I was always afraid. The fear just got bigger and bigger as I started growing. Growing up in school, I wanted to be invisible. It was like I wouldn't want to raise my hand. I was like really shy. And then I think it even started as I developed more. It became a big part of my relationships, where I think that we learn from our parents.
Yeah.
And seeing this abuse going on at home, the fear that if I would try to defend myself, I was going to get hit, or something would happen to me. So I think that I held on to that. And even in my relationships, as I started growing up, I started going through that. So, they say it's a cycle.
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
Yeah.
And so most of my relationships were pretty bad, but I always held on. I think that I was afraid to be alone. I was afraid to let go of those relationships. Yeah. And I grew up thinking that's how love was supposed to be. Then, my parents got divorced. My father left. And I lacked that love from my father. So it was always, and when I look back, I'm like, I was dating men that were like my father. I looked for these men that had similar characteristics, right? You know how you say in Spanish, like the machistas, womanizer. I was for 4 years, I was in a really bad domestic violence relationship. And there's also shame that comes with that. I didn't want anybody to know. So you kind of stay in those relationships because you're ashamed, but you're also afraid. The domestic violence relationship I had got really bad to when I couldn't take it anymore. And I ended up going to the police. I had to leave the state. So I even had to leave Illinois because this person was looking for me. And so when I left, I ended up in Texas. And, I thought I was going to change, but I hadn't healed. I was still kind of going through that same cycle again. I ended up in another bad relationship, and I always thought, because I was going through every type of abuse you could think of, you know, and it's like the mental, physical, emotional, sexual. I mean, every abuse, sometimes even the emotional and mental was worse than the physical.
Yeah.
Because you're crushed, you're torn, you feel worthless.
Yeah.
And that's engraved in you. So you believe that.
Yeah.
I always thought, like, God, where are you? Like, I always I thought I believed in God, right? But I kind of doubted because I was going through so many bad experiences where I was lost. Right. I was broken. I was lost. I was drinking, trying to like numb, you know, because you want to escape that reality of what you're going through.
Yeah.
But it was like, once you're sober, it's back.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes even worse.
Yes.
And I just couldn't fill that void. I couldn't feel that lack of love. I would blame my father and be like, this is all happening because of you. I just felt I needed that. So that's why I would stay in these relationships. And so finally, I hit rock bottom. Yeah. I was just like, I was in Texas, no family. I was in this other relationship now. And so I ended up having my daughter in Texas, which was one of the best blessings in my life.
Yeah.
I was always told I couldn't have kids. So that was part of the problem in my domestic violence relationship. Okay. Because I couldn't. But I was blessed. My life changed during that time because now I had someone to live for. Yeah. So now I was like, she can't go through what I'm going through. But I also didn't want to leave this relationship because then I was like, she's going to grow up without a dad like me. Yeah. And so I stuck around, but actually it's been like 10 years ago, almost to this date, I ended up getting a MRSA staph infection in Texas. So I guess because I was holding on to all of this pain, hurt, shame, my immune system was really low. So when I got this infection, I didn't even know. Yeah. I just ended up with fever, went to the hospital, and they told me, like, you have to call a relative because you're septic. They're like, the infection was so bad that I had to call my mom to go overnight to Texas, and they're like, her organs are going to start shutting down.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was horrible. At that point, there was no one else to go to but to God. Yeah. Before I ended up with the MRSA, it was a couple weeks. I was already like, help me, God. Like, why do I keep going through all of this? Well, I didn't have a church. So I remember I walked into the first church I saw. It was actually a Baptist church in Texas. And I walked into the church and I was just like, I didn't even know what to do. I grew up in a Catholic home, so I was used to the Catholic church. This was like completely different. Oh, yeah. But I walked in and I just sat down and the music just like did something. Because it's completely different from what I was used to. I remember I was crying and there was two little old ladies next to me. And as I'm crying, she's just like, he hears you. I was just like, he hears me. If she's telling me. And that day I went by myself. Then a couple weeks later is when I ended up with the infection. Well, I had gotten a number from one of the ladies at the church, and I had messaged them. Yeah. So they actually, while I was in the hospital, they sent the pastor from the church.
Oh my goodness.
To go pray for me. And I had never experienced something like that because I was always in a Catholic church. You know, you go to church, but you don't have like that personal relationship with like a pastor or like I didn't know about groups in church. So I just had messaged the lady like, hey, I'm in the hospital. He shows up. My mom's there because she came from Chicago, and he prayed over me. It was the first time. Sorry. That I experienced that. And it just like changed everything. And I was like, God, if you let me go through this. Like, if you take this away or just let me live for my daughter, I was like, I'll talk about you, or I will spread the word about you, or just show people that you are real. Since that day, actually, I started getting the memories on my Facebook. So I was like, I have to tell Anne about it.
Yeah.
Since that day, and it was June 18th of 2013. Every day I have posted like something about God on my Facebook. As I started doing this, it wasn't about me anymore. People would reach out to me or like message me like, I needed to hear this today, or you changed my morning. I've been doing that for the past 10 years now, every day. So fast forward, I ended up getting better, but I left that relationship. I came back to Chicago, and I just started growing my journey with God and my relationship with Him.
Yeah.
I actually met a lady from New Life, and I joined her group. It was like a women's Bible study. I was never in a group like that. Oh my goodness. It was just, it was beautiful. Beautiful. I started growing my faith. I started learning more. From there, I ended up in a women's group that I was mentioning to you earlier. I don't know how I got in that group, to be honest. And everybody asks me, or we'll talk about it with the ladies in the group. I'm just like, honestly, I don't know how I got in that group. But the first day I was in there, I was scrolling through there, and I'm still, I was still in my journey. Like, I need Jesus, I need God. And I saw, she's a pastor, and she was announcing for some Bible studies, and I jumped into the Bible studies group, and I mean, I've been in there since. But it's been a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So I'm listening to you, Rosie, and I mean, I want you to take me back. And I know you talk about like the violence that you went through, right? And growing up in a home where there was violence, now you find yourself repeating a lot of the cycle, right? What you went through, what you saw happening at home, now you're personally living through it. And you said there was shame attached to that, right? There was shame of what will people think and what will people say. And then you finally bring yourself to a place like, God, where are you? God, where are you? Right? And like you said, you always knew there was a God. You always knew, okay, I believe there's a God. But you didn't have that relationship like you do now.
I actually even went to a Catholic grammar school. And so we prayed, we knew prayers, we did our sacraments, but it was just something repetitive that we were taught. Like, I didn't talk to God. Like, the way I talk to Him now, it's like every day, like I have to, like I have my conversations with Him. It is so different. During that time, I was more, I could say, like kind of mad at Him, or kind of like, why, if there is a God, if God is here, why is all this bad stuff happening to me? And this is just a little piece of my story, like there's just so much. I was living on my own since I was 17. So I went through a lot of obstacles, and I was always like, where are you? Like, if you love me, if you're here, why is this happening to me? But now having this relationship with Him, and actually like seeing the signs and looking back, I'm like, He was there all along.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for Him, I wouldn't have made it out of these situations. So when I do look back into my past, I'm like, man, He was there.
Yes.
Because only God could have got me through that situation. Now I see the signs, and I know that it's Him.
That it's Him.
speaking.
Yeah. And so you're now in this relationship with the Lord. How did He begin to heal you from that past hurt that you had?
I didn't love myself. When I had my first daughter, I started seeing this different love, right? Where all my love back in the past was like hurt, toxic. But this was like a pure love. And as I started growing my relationship with God, I started seeing that. So is his love. He loved me that much. That's why I was here. I didn't know that in the past. I had talked to you about where in the past and this is like crazy, right? I was at a party. It was a tattoo party. So this is in my dark stages, right? And my brother
before Christ,
before Christ, my brother had this tattoo party, and I was like, okay, I'll go. You know, you're young and tattoos, right? And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna get, and I was like, pick one for me, right? This is my mentality back then. I was like 18, and so my brother picked a tattoo, and I got it, and it was worth it in a heart, but at that time, I didn't feel I was worth it. I didn't, you know, and now I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like everything goes back. Like everything I went through was worth it, you know. And
that is good. Yeah.
And it's just like, and I was worth it.
Yes.
And so I had even wrote that down in my little notes. But yeah, it's just so many things go back to that now, and I'm just like, you know, I wanted to get it removed and, you know, trying to figure out ways, but I'm like, you know what, maybe this was meant to be there. It's a daily reminder now that I am worth it, because for so many years it took me like most of my life to learn that I was worth it. You know, I was always like doubting myself, or I believed what others said about me, and it's just, the enemy doesn't want you to love yourself. He doesn't want you to be confident, or he wants to keep you there. Yeah. He wants to keep you hindered and in bondage, and not allow you to see your worth. Yeah. And you know, we are all worth it. Yeah. If you're here, you're breathing your life, you're worth it. And you're here for a reason. So that's my scar. You know, that's my daily reminder. I am worth it. My life was worth it.
I feel as if you've made it your life calling to let people know they're worth it. I feel like as you were sharing your story with me, you and your husband now, and that's a whole nother story in itself, but it's like a mission that you guys are on. Yeah. To say, you know what, these people are worth it. These people that, you know, they may not know us, but they're worth it. They have a purpose, right? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. I know you've been through all these abusive relationships, this cycle. What did it look like to finally meet someone that you knew in your heart saw your worth?
It was completely different. In the beginning, I was afraid. I was like, what is this? Like, it was something I wasn't used to at all. So I fought it. I questioned it. I fought it. I was just like, I thought it was too good to be true. To be honest, like I was just like, this isn't for me. Like, this is not the relationships I'm normally in. No. So for a while, we dated, but I was kind of like, I had this block. I had my guard up, right? I was just like, no, there's something. There has to be something wrong
like,
with this guy.
When is the real you going to show up? Right. When is that other side?
He's going to change, or something's going to happen. I was just waiting for that. But it was so different from other relationships where we actually put God as our foundation. We started to go to church together and worship. I never had that. Wow. So this was just like, wow, like God, you know, this is God. Yeah. And I even remember one time where we're in worship, and we're in service, and I was like, you know, crying because you're feeling the music, and I was just like, God, if this man is for me, just give me a sign. We were already dating for a little bit. He wanted to be like our relationship to the next level. I was just like, God, give me a sign if this man is for me, because if he's not, then I need to let this go. I can't go through the same thing again. And I remember, like, we're there, the Ocean song was on. So I turned around, and like he grabbed my hand at that moment, and I see like tears. So I was like, okay, that's it. That's it. He answered my prayers.
Aw.
From there, he proposed to me. We got engaged. I had my dream wedding. We had a destination wedding. It was beautiful. It was just something I wasn't used to, but he showed me, and he saw everything in me that I didn't even see in myself. So like I always doubt myself,
Yeah.
but he brings out like the best in me. And even till this day, like he sees all that I am,
Yeah.
where I never did. I never. So I know that God sent him my way to like
Yeah.
push it out of me. And now we do things together, and I think we have the same mission, you can say,
Yeah.
or purpose to help other people. And he sees like when I do my post or my little videos, like my motivational videos, he sees that and he's just like, I've seen this all along. Like you didn't see it.
Aw.
So now even with the school, I help with all of that, like to help our students and with social services and supportive services.
That's incredible. I'm amazed at that because here you are struggling to see your worth. And God sends this man to compliment you, to draw that out of you, to remind you that you are worth it, right? And that you are worth loving, right? You are worth just being prized, being loved, being cared for. And he sends your husband.
Yeah.
That's precious.
And that love is not painful. Love doesn't
No.
hurt. Love is beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that I was living in my way. I wanted to hold on to things because I felt I needed it,
Yeah.
but I wasn't allowing God to open those doors or bless me with his blessings because I was so stuck, you know, I was so stubborn. Like, I can't live without this man, or I can't live by myself because what are people going to say? Or, you know, what about my daughter? But then looking back, it's just like, I didn't want her to be in that, you know, or see that what I saw.
Yeah.
Because then you're just repeating. And so now we're more cautious. I'm more like, I want them to know that love is pure. Love is beautiful. Like, it's not painful. And I actually brought a little picture. Like, I carry this with me everywhere.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't know if they can see it, but it's just a reminder that if you trust in God, like, he has bigger plans and a bigger purpose for you.
Oh, I love this. So for those of you listening on the podcast, it's a picture of this little girl and she's holding on to this little teddy bear. And then there's a picture of Jesus and he's holding on to this really big teddy bear, and right behind his back, like he's not showing it to her just yet, but he's saying, just trust me. And then the little girl is saying, but I love it, God. And then she's just like holding on to that little teddy bear, not being able to see what God has in store for her is much greater than what she won't let go of.
Yes.
Man, that's so powerful. I love that.
I carry it everywhere because I'm just, people need to know that. Like, there is a bigger prize for you. There's a bigger purpose, a bigger call, a bigger blessing. And we need to stop living for us. Like, you know, what we want, allow him to show you what he has for you.
Now that you and your husband have been on this mission, right, with this heart to help others, tell us what that looks like now in your lives.
So now we have 3 businesses in one. We have a culinary program, which we help minorities, low-income individuals, and we allow them to get certifications in culinary. We give them certifications they would get at a university, just not at the price of a university or at the amount of time. So they're grant-based where they can go to school for free if they qualify. And we do find them work. We find them internships. We also help them if they want to start their own business. Okay. That's his specialty. He's on the entrepreneur side, and he loves helping people like start their businesses. And then we have Cocina RX, which we just started a program, a medically tailored meals program, which we are giving medically tailored meals to 25 individuals for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And we're monitoring them to see how their weight changes, their gut health.
Yeah.
We partnered with UIC, and we're actually like doing an analysis of how they came in before they started eating healthier. And then we're going to do the comparison at the end, like how their gut health has changed.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I mean, just we are, like they say, you are what you eat, right?
Yes,
And,
yes, we are.
and you know what? It's not just the food, but it's also like holistically, like what are you watching? What are you listening to?
Yes.
What are you surrounding yourself with? You know, is everything aligned in your life? Like your spiritual side, like do you have a relationship with God? All of that affects your gut.
Oh, yeah.
And like all these illnesses start from your gut, and people don't realize that, you know, like certain illnesses, because you're holding on to so much in your gut inside of you, affects certain organs of your body. Stress is like the number one. They say it's like the silent killer, because you're messing up your organs, and you know, just with all this stress that you're holding on to. So we try to do stuff with the participants. We're gonna have them do like workout classes, Zumba classes together, just doing things together, like to build this community and see how they improve, you know, how their health improves. And we have seen a difference, because people are like motivated, they're happy, they're feeling better, so they're like more energetic. So that program's going great. The culinary school, we also have Spanish classes where they're shorter. They're not grant based, because through the grants you have to have like documentation, and but if you don't have that, we also offer Spanish classes to people who don't have a social, or who can't get into a school. So we do offer classes for them. And then we have the banquet hall upstairs. So it's a lot. And now we started feeding the refugees. So we're making meals 3 times a day, 6 days a week. And we're servicing 3 police stations where we go and feed the refugees.
And you said you're bringing about 300 meals a day? A day.
A day.
And you guys are pretty much preparing, well, you're chefs and the students, right? They're all preparing these meals. And that just like blows my mind. That just blows my mind, because you said that it all started in the pandemic. Can you tell us what that looked like back then?
So we didn't know what we were doing, right? We wanted to help. You know, COVID hit, and everybody was like, what do we do? And, you know, people started losing their jobs. We're in the culinary business, so culinary field, and restaurants closed, you know, everything shut down. So all these chefs and cooks, they lost their jobs. They were like the main provider in their households. And it's like, if the wife didn't work and their children, like, how were they going to provide? So we got together with chefs who also were out of work, and, you know, they were like, let's do it. So we got together with them, and we started making meals. And what started as 600 meals out of pocket, like our own money, in a couple of months grew to 28,000 meals. And we were just...
That's unbelievable.
It is. Only God. Only God.
And who was distributing them, or how did you get that?
So I actually had just had my second blessing. She was 2 months old. So I had just had her, and we were out there. And there was people there like, you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? And but we were like, you know what? God, cover us. We're doing this for your people. You know, we want to help, and this is the only way we know how. And hopefully it helps somebody. And we had lines of people. Like, we were just like, we started on 26th Street. From there, we started giving like, it was like 150 per organization. So we had nonprofit organizations like coming to us, and we were distributing to them, and then they would pass out New Life was one of them too. We would give some
Yeah.
to New Life.
Wow. That's amazing.
And then they would distribute in their communities. So
Yeah.
our meals were they were
Yeah.
getting around.
Wow. And so tell us, where are you located?
So right now our business is on 26th and Christiana.
Okay.
It's actually right in the corner. So it's like an incubator, like a
Yeah.
culinary
That's
incubator.
so cool.
We also do like shared kitchen, like we do have commercial kitchens. So
Okay.
if like street vendors needed a commercial kitchen to rent to do their tamales or whatever they're
Oh,
doing,
that's
they
neat.
can
Yeah.
also rent the kitchen because they require like a commercial kitchen license.
Okay.
So it would fall under ours, and they can go ahead and use that.
Oh, that is awesome. So you're in Little Village.
Little Village, La
And
Villita.
yeah, La Villita, right?
Uh-huh.
That is so awesome. I know you had shared, I think a while back, a little clip of you were on the news with your husband, right? And you guys were sharing.
Oh yeah.
You guys were sharing about that. And so it's becoming more known, right, in this community in Little Village of what you're doing and what you and your husband, this mission that you're on. Gosh, you train, you educate, you feed the hungry, right? You are going out there helping people with gut health, right?
Yeah.
And all this from your community, what drives you guys?
You know what? It's a reward in itself.
Mm,
Even
yeah.
with the culinary school, just seeing them and seeing them progress,
Mm,
right? Or get the opportunity that no one has given them.
mm,
I think that's what it is. I think
yeah.
it's helping others and seeing them succeed.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
it's a reward for me.
it's a
I know
reward
when
in
I hear my
itself.
students and just see them like so happy, like because
Yeah.
they never had like somebody give them that chance or opportunity.
Yeah.
That's my reward.
Yeah. And it truly is rewarding, right? Doing something without expecting something in return. That's rewarding. And that truly is a blessing. What you all are doing, what you and your husband and your team of people are doing to help the community. You also mentioned something that I thought was pretty powerful, that not only are you guys educating people, but you're actually going to go grocery shopping with people.
Yeah.
Right? And in our community, I think that it's the lack of knowledge, it's the lack of knowing that hinders us, right? From doing something as easy as knowing how to read labels, knowing how to portion food, right? All these things that one would think, oh, well, everybody knows how to do that. But no, not everybody knows how to do that,
No.
especially coming from a culture where everybody
Yes.
cooks in ollas, like really big ollas, and you use
And all
manteca
that
and you
yes.
all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that's the kind of culture when you grow
And that's
up
what
in
we've been
that.
seeing.
Yeah.
We're in La Villita, so this is little Mexico.
Yes.
So this is even new to them because our little store, it's La Tiendita Cocina Rex.
Uh-huh.
Our product, like our produce, our vegetables, are all from like urban growers, local farmers. So this is straight from the ranch, straight
That's
from the farm.
awesome. Yeah.
And people have no idea.
No.
Like they're like, what is this? Or
Yeah.
we're getting the eggs straight from the chicken at the farm. And we're using this in our own meals that we make and the meals that we give out to the community. So it's something new, but they're interested, and
Yeah.
and especially I think COVID changed a lot of things for everybody, like health wise, where you're more like health conscious
Oh,
to a
yes.
certain extent.
Yeah, you're
and
right. Yeah.
and they are. We get older people who are like, oh, pues, I'd rather have this than something that's processed, or
Yes.
they're more conscious of what they're eating.
Mm.
So they're gravitating to it. They're interested. They're curious,
Yeah.
right? But we help them. So we have the chefs there at the store.
Uh-huh.
So if they did pick some ingredients and had no idea what to make with them, like they would help them. And like, okay, you can make this, or and in all our meals we incorporate that Latin touch, like el toque Latino, because
I love that.
yeah, because you know what, like we noticed I mean, nothing wrong with the Caesar salad, right? But it's like the same thing. So
Yeah.
if you see our salad bowls, like they're mixed with all types of stuff and
Ooh.
colors, and and we
Yum.
incorporate stuff like from our culture, like the nopales, like stuff that you wouldn't normally see
Okay.
in a salad,
Yeah.
but you need it, and it's so
Oh.
good. So I had to bring you one.
Yeah, please. So now you guys are maintaining this business that you have. Your daughters are growing older. Do they help at times too? Do they get involved at all, or
They do.
not
Well,
yet?
the little one's still.
Oh, she's still little.
So
Yeah.
when she goes,
Oh, do you guys do anything for little ones?
we do. We
Okay,
do.
okay,
We do.
yeah.
And we're actually gonna have more because of our little one.
Oh,
So we want to have
nice.
classes. She loves doing stuff with her
Yeah.
hands, and
That's
so we will have
great.
kids classes.
Oh, wow.
But the older one does. She's on school break right now, so
Uh-huh,
she was there helping today. So
Oh,
once in a
that's
while she goes and helps.
wonderful. Wow. And so if anyone wants to partner up, if somebody out there is saying, somebody who's listening is out there and saying, man, this is something I'd like to partner up with you guys. Maybe not get in there and being able to physically do something, but even just donate towards this cause and support what you guys are doing. How can they do that?
They could go to our Facebook page or our website. I think our website would be better because there's a link.
Okay.
So it's through www.foodhero.com.
Okay.
And on the main page, there's a donate button.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Because I think that when people hear that you all are doing something for the community, I'm just amazed by how you're able to, you kind of oversee all of it, right? And how you're able to do that, but yet still have this joy, still have this heart to want to continue to see people know their worth, right? And I think you need to do something with that, worth it. I think that I don't know what.
I've been getting signs too. It's coming up everywhere, but I'm like, well, God, what do you want me to do?
I'm serious because you caught on to your worth through Christ. People that God's sending to you are starting to catch that too. That, hey, I'm worth it. Why? Because someone took the time to bless me with a meal, or open up their kitchen, or open up this culinary school, and I get to be a part of that. That speaks volumes. Yeah. It speaks volumes to people.
It truly does. It speaks volumes to me every day. Well, I'm on the verge. I'm in the process of writing my book. Maybe that's the title.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a title yet.
That's awesome. I didn't know you were in the process of writing a book.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to read it.
Oh, thank you.
And you have to come back once once you release it, so that we can let our listeners know. I know you mentioned this is just a part of my story, and
just a tiny bit. Yeah.
Just a tiny bit. But if you can speak to our listeners and just speak to that person that may find themselves in a similar situation, in a similar background to yours, what would you say to them? How would you encourage them?
Well, it's a very hard situation, and we don't see a way out, right? But there is a way out, and trusting in God like this. Let go and let God, and trust in Him. He put you there. He's going to get you through it. Sometimes it's harder staying in a relationship than getting out of it. You're hurting yourself, and there's so many blessings once you're out of that. There's so many other opportunities. God has a purpose, and you'll get out of it. You have to believe. You have to talk to Him. He chose you. You're here for a reason. I would say that to the listeners, and for a very long time I didn't believe, but once I did, my whole life changed completely. And it'll change for you too. If you believe, you build your relationship with God and ask Him, ask and you shall receive. He will make it happen.
And now that the Lord has these wonderful plans for you, right? He's been just so gracious in providing in supernatural ways for you, right? Because I know part of this whole mission and vision that God has given you and your husband, some of it at the beginning had to come from your own pockets, right? Like you guys funded what you guys were doing. And you mentioned that's a reward in itself.
Yeah. And there's obstacles. I mean, nothing comes easy, right?
Yeah.
We go back to that. You know, Jesus didn't say life was going to be easy. It's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
Nothing comes easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
When we bought the building where our business is, everything you can imagine happened. I mean, there was a day the pipes burst inside. So you put everything into this, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, I want to get this business going. I want to help people. And the pipes burst. It looked like an ice castle, right? Like it was like frozen. This was like in January. So, you know, it's like the coldest time. And we were just like, God, if this is not for us, take it from us.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot. We did struggle. There was times where we were like, we're done. Like, this is not going to happen. But every time that something like that happened, He came through and helped us. We stayed in our faith. You know, we had friends come and bless the building, prayed in the building. It's just been blessing after blessing. Like, He's provided. We were down to nothing. Out of nowhere, like, stuff got done. Only God, because we were out of everything. But I think He wanted this, and He needed this for, you know, for people, for opportunities, and for us to do His work.
I bet you if we had some of those people here, they could testify. They could testify that God's been in this, and he's continuing to be in this.
We hear it.
Yeah.
Just today. That's why I've been so emotional. Just today, it was their last class for this cohort, and they did do videos of their testimonies.
Wow.
So all day I've been like, oh.
Tears flowing, huh?
Yeah. So this has been an emotional day, but good.
Yes.
You know, because God has been so good.
They're tears of joy.
It's just the emotion that, you know, like, you know, my husband didn't have like a easy life either. And just to know from where we were to where we are, and, you know, how God has been our foundation, how He's been in our life and all our blessings, like it's beautiful. It's just, you know, there's no better story than the story He writes for you.
Yes. Oh, say that again. It's true.
There's no better story than the one you allow God to write for you.
Yes. Yes. And we need to know that. We need to know that. Nowadays, so many people go to social media and you see all these different highlights of people's lives, but you don't know. You don't know where God brought me from and where He's still bringing me through, right?
Exactly.
We don't know. And so with that, I want to encourage people to know that God is still writing your story. The pen doesn't stop until it's time to be with Him in glory, right? Yeah. But in the meantime, He's still writing our stories.
Yeah. And even like with my life, like people don't know, you know, they see the good stuff, but unless you were like my family member or somebody close to me and knew where I came from, then you'd know. But a lot of people, like I heard somebody at service say the other day, like, what you see today is glory, but you have no idea, you know, my story.
My story.
So it's like, you know, so this is why.
And it's so good. That's why I have the opportunity here to share women's stories, because a lot of times we see the now, and now is only God. Now is only God, and it's the grace and the love of God, right? And it's still God working in me, even in the now, right? But where He brought me from, like a lot of people don't know that. And so for women like you, Rosie, to be able to share look, this is where I came from. This is what I experienced. This is some of the trauma that was real in my life. This is some of the impact, the effect of the trauma on my life left me feeling like I was worthless, like I didn't deserve to be loved, like was love even a real thing, right? And now God comes into your life and he changes all that.
And it's I'm still a work in progress.
Of course. We are. We are.
Daily we are a work in progress. And
yes.
And it takes a lot. We have to do our part too.
Yeah.
You know, because
exactly.
I thought like if I would just say, God, do this for me, it's gonna happen. Like, no, you have to do your part, and you have to want the change in your life. And you know, I've been to like women's Bible study groups. I went to just women's groups, therapy. You know, because there's a lot of trauma that you need to learn to let go of, heal with, and deal with, you know, because
process it. Yeah.
A lot of people have been in very bad situations and they need to learn how to accept it and move on. You know, for a long time, I was always like, I was a victim. Like, I felt sorry for myself, or I was like, poor me. All this happened. But now I'm like, you know what, like, I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
You know, it happened to me for a reason. I overcame it, and I want other women to know that as well.
Yes.
You know, like you're not a victim.
No.
Like you overcame this, and you know, you're here. You have a purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does take a lot of work. And you know, being part of women's groups or ministries, retreats.
Yes.
Retreats have helped me so much. There's actually a retreat one of my friends is doing, and it's coming up.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you could share it.
Yeah.
On your,
you let me know, and I can share it.
We can share the details. Retreats have helped me so much because you're around women. Like, I think you need a community of like that support.
Yes.
Because sometimes when you're going through all of this, you isolate yourself.
Yeah.
And you kind of like don't have that support system or people to help you. And retreats do that for you.
Yes,
like
they do. They encourage you, right? I think when you know that, oh, it's not just me, right? When you see, oh, you too, you know, you're going through that too.
Yes.
You just know that the Lord is surrounding you with people that have wounds and scars like yours too. Maybe not the same exact ones, but they too have been through, and they have their own story. Rosie, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for being here today, for the courage to share your story, and thank you for what you're doing for the Little Village community. You and your husband, you guys are definitely making an impact there. God's using you guys. It's like a ministry, because that's what you guys are doing. You guys are equipping people to be able to one day, God willing, open up their own business. And because of what you guys have done, even instilling in them, like, how can we help our community, where it's just not about us, but it's about them, right? And that's beautiful.
Thank you for having me and
You're
allowing
so
me to
welcome.
share my story.
Yeah, I love your story, and I hope that the listeners will be blessed through it. I want to thank you all for tuning into this episode of Her Scars Tell a Story.